In Ukraine tonight, brutal fighting along the front lines as Kyiv's counteroffensive grinds out hard-fought gains against heavily fortified Russian positions in Ukraine. Russian airstrikes and artillery attacks are going on, reportedly slowing the Ukrainian advance, at least for now. Our senior international correspondent Fred Pleitgen is joining us with all the latest from the war zone.
Ukraine's army continuing to take the fight to the Russians on the southern front. This video shows the 128th Territorial Defense Battalion clearing trenches after ousting Vladimir Putin's army, the unit says. One of the soldiers, nicknamed the Octopus, telling me the fighting remains fierce. We're currently launching an assault, he says. Our front line is moving forward. We've already advanced a lot, more than 2 kilometers, so now we're only moving forward. Even after returning from the front line, the troops continue to train assaulting enemy positions so important for Ukraine's ongoing major counteroffensive.
The guys here say that the battles that they've had with the Russians have been extremely tough. They've had to fight for every yard, and yet they are confident. They say that they can make this counteroffensive a success.
Troops we spoke to say the biggest threat to them is Russian air power. This video, released by the Russian Defense Ministry, purporting to show a Russian attack helicopter hitting a Ukrainian armored vehicle. The 128th deputy commander acknowledges choppers, planes, and drones are making his forces advance tougher. They work continuously, he says, all day long, either with helicopters or with planes. It's hard to advance like that, but we retake territory. We do not allow them to hit the columns. And the unit says they've managed to capture not only territory, but also hardware from the Russians, including this infantry fighting vehicle. Mechanics now fixing it up to use against the Russians. An angry Russian president complaining about Kyiv's offensive and claiming that Russia is beating back Ukraine's forces. They've suffered large losses, Vladimir Putin says, 10 times more than the Russian army, and that is a fact. The Ukrainians do acknowledge some losses, but also say they've taken out a lot of Russian assets, and these troops vow to press on and take more vehicles from Moscow's troops as they advance.
So as you can see there, Wolf, some serious fighting going on the southern front line. I have to say, though, the forces that we spoke to today, they were pretty upbeat about the situation. Upbeat, the Ukrainians, also about the situation in the east of the country. In fact, they're saying that they're making some pretty big gains around the area of Bakhmut. They also say that the Russians are now bringing some combat-ready forces into that area as well to try and hold the Ukrainians up. But the Ukrainians are saying they are making some real gains around Bakhmut. Wolf?
All right, Fred Pleitgen is Zaporizhia in the war zone in Ukraine for us. Thank you. Stay safe. Oksana Markarova, Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us. How do you respond to those nuclear threats that we're hearing now directly from Vladimir Putin?
Good evening, Wolf, and thank you for having me. Well, we have to just remind ourselves that it is Ukraine that got rid of a third nuclear arsenal in 1994. It is Ukraine that was always peaceful, and it's Russia that continuously is a threat of risk, not only militarily in Ukraine and in the region, but food security, energy security. And at this point, you know, again, as we said before, we should remind an indicted war criminal, Mr. Putin, that instead of continuing threatening peaceful nations, he should focus on actually getting out from Ukraine, where his troops performed miserably, and he only conducted a number of war crimes, including massive shelling of Kyiv and Kyiv Oblast today, Kherson, blowing up Kakhovka Dam, and all the atrocities that they have committed. So yes, it's another attempt to threaten all of us so that we stop in defending democracy, freedom, and the values that we all share. And we will not stop. We will continue liberating Ukraine. And I'm positive our friends will also not stop in supporting Ukraine.
As Ukraine ambassador makes what are being described as incremental advances in this new counteroffensive, what would you say to some Western allies waiting to see what they want to see, namely major gains out there on the battlefield?
We all knew that it's going to be very difficult. The front is very long, south, east of Ukraine. Plus, again, the fact that Russians blew up the dam and flooded the whole area in Kherson, not only devastating dozens of villages and affecting people, but also making it difficult, But again, regardless of how hard it is, we have heard President Zelensky loud and clear and all the commanders. We are making progress. We will make progress. Of course, all of us would like it to be as fast as possible because it's our people who are suffering under occupation there. And we have very high trust in our commanders and our brave defenders. Regardless how hard it is, we will liberate all Ukraine.
Ambassador, CNN has learned, and I assume you know this, that President Biden is now willing to drop one hurdle in Ukraine's push to become a NATO member. Is that small step enough to deter Russia? What do you think?
I will only say that, Ukraine has made our civilizational choice. We would like to be a member of the European Union, and we're already candidate country, and we would like to be a member of NATO. It's in our hearts, it's in our constitution, it's something that not only the majority of Ukrainians share and believe in, but also we believe that Ukraine has a lot to add to NATO. Now, how it will happen, it's for us and all the NATO members to decide. But I think, not only that Ukraine is ready and willing to be part of, this family of civilized countries that share the same values, but we have done a lot of reforms and have a lot to add. But, again, as we all are preparing for the summit, of course, we will not go ahead and say, the expectations, but we work a lot with our friends and partners, and we really believe in NATO.
Ambassador Oksana Markarova, good luck to you, as I always tell you, and good luck to all the people of Ukraine. Thanks so much for joining us.